in the Veterans Building, those are the men that fought for that freedom that we have to do this. And we're so thankful for them and all the other veterans that have fought in the past for the freedoms that we have, and we're so thankful for those freedoms. We ask you to bless our meeting tonight. Father, let us have the right attitude and the attitude you'd have us have. Let everything we do tonight be pleasing in your sight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Here's what I wanted to do tonight is, and I'm going to sit down if it's okay like a school teacher because I don't understand, but here's what I wanted to do tonight. I waited to have this meeting, and I'll call on her, Rhonda Thurman, our school board member's here too, but I'll call on her in a minute to say some stuff, but I'll go ahead and tell you she's here and then I'll call on her in a minute. What I wanted to do, I waited to have this meeting till tonight because there's been some talk on the budget, the county side, and if you know this, if you've been paying attention, and maybe you don't know this, the county budget, when we finally put the county budget together, it's two huge pieces. It's the school board piece and the county government, everything else in the county. And the school board puts their budget together, approves their budget, gives it to the mayor. He puts it in with our county budget and goes together with one huge budget that the county commission votes on. So up till today, just today when we had our workshop, we had a good idea, unless they changed anything, we had a good idea what the school board's budget, what they had proposed and passed and give to us. We knew what that portion was. As of today, we didn't know what the county portion of the budget was. A little bit to our surprise, what they've been working on, the mayor and his staff has been working on for several weeks, is getting all of the requests from all the departments in. We have been working with him on that. Well, up until today, the report was that would possibly be a $15 million increase in the budget, which is $15 million is 15 cents. Roughly, without getting too much in the weeds, you can kind of calculate that for every $1 million we have extra in taxes, that is a penny increase for taxpayers. So 15 million, if the county wanted 15 million, that'd be 15 extra cents going on your property tax per hundred rate. And so, but the mayor's been working on his for a long time. Well, he came back today to our surprise and presented his budget with zero tax increase. In other words, he said, we're going to fund our county portion with zero extra taxes with what we've got. Now, let me tell you why that excited me, that portion excited me, is there were several things that had been taught that we needed to do desperately in the county that he said, yes, we can do these things, but it might take a tax increase. Some of those were, and let me tell you what those were, because I'll say this, they got in the budget, and they're in the budget now without a tax increase. Number one was the sheriff's department. Increasing the pay for the sheriff's department, the officers, the deputies out there, I think they call them deputies in the sheriff's department, increasing their pay and getting them up to where they ought to be and competitive with the city and surrounding cities. And y'all have heard all the talk about how, and we've heard it forever, how our department trains all the officers and then, they go somewhere else to make better money. So anyway, there's 6 new positions for the sheriff's department in that budget, and their pay is going to be increased up to market where they could compete. The second piece was the EMS department, our emergency management team. They wanted to hire 35 additional people. Now, what they were doing with those, and we had to hear this plan before we thought, yeah, that's a fairly good plan. They have, the EMS for a number of years has operated on this overtime schedule where they had fewer people and they worked a lot of overtime hours. Well, what ended up happening, it's finally caught up with us, and this is what the people over that department tell us, and the mayor told us, finally it caught up with us to where, number one, they can't keep employees because of just the stress and the home life and stuff like that, so they were losing employees. Last year, No, the year before in our budget, the commission approved a new EMS station. I think it's on the other side of the river. We approved a new EMS station. We haven't built that yet, only because they couldn't staff it. They couldn't hire the people to staff. So that got to be a major problem. So anyway, that's solved in this budget. They're hiring 35 new positions in there, and then going to staff that, finally build that building, which that building is not in this budget. It's already been approved. It just hadn't been built because we didn't have the people staff it. So it's going to be able to staff that. The third piece, which of course, if you've ever paid any attention to what I talk about a lot in our district, and I'm excited about, there was a major increase, almost double the money that are going to our volunteer fire departments. And I have 4 or 5 in our district. We have that many volunteer fire departments. They doubled the money that's going to they've worked on a shoestring for a long time, and I've got a couple of chiefs here I've got Mowbray's chief and then Sell Creek's ex-chief as of a week ago, but I've got those 2 chiefs here, and they can, you can ask them, they can attest to how on a shoestring budget these guys operate. They're amazing how they do, and they're so important to our community, and so their amounts, roughly, I looked through the budget when we got today, they roughly doubled their allocations that we've been giving them, and that's really not a lot of money because they wasn't getting a lot in the first place, but they doubled their allocation. So, and then there's one other piece, but before I leave this, let me say that that's the 3 major things that are being extra funded in our county budget without a tax increase, and if you noticed, each one of those 3 are public safety. Every one of them, the Sheriff's Department, EMS, and our volunteer fire department. So you can see where our focus is on safety, public safety. The other portion of the budget, main portion, I'm hitting the highlights, but the other main portion of that budget is a 2.5% raise for county employees. If y'all heard something in the last few weeks, the talk was that the employees getting a 5% raise, and that's what they were talking about and what they were going to propose. Well, the mayor doing some cuts to try to get this down to where there was no tax increase in that side. It went from 5% down to 2.5%. So he cut that in half, the raise, and that's for county employees. So that's the major portion of the county's side of the budget. Now, if you've got any other particular questions about that stuff, I can address those. One thing I did want to say before I started, I meant to say it. If anyone has questions tonight, and you're welcome to ask questions. If you have a question that I immediately can't answer or something, I'll get your name and number and stuff. We'll write the question down, and I can get the answer and call you back. This is our budget book that we got today. I'm not an expert on it yet. I've got to go through that and everything. We have 3 weeks to show you how to do it. He presents it tomorrow at our commission meeting formally to us. He went in a workshop today, but he'll present it formally tomorrow. We vote on it the last Wednesday of this month. So we've got about 3 weeks to look at it and study it, and then we'll vote the last Wednesday of this month. Okay, now here was my plan, is to hit the very highlights of what the school budget was. And it'd probably be best, Rhonda, to if you want to, here's what I want to do is kind of hit the highlights of what it covers. And then, let me say this, starting off, is the budget for the school is a $34 million increase. And that would be, remember, I told you a second ago, $34 million increase. So that would be about 34-cent property tax increase, 34 cents. And I was really going to just hit the highlights. And now I've told you now that from what I've told you now, the proposed budget has a $34 million, 34-cent tax increase proposal that the mayors give us, a proposal. And that all increases all for the school's budget. So you understand that. The county's zero, the school portion is the 34 million. And I had some facts here. Rhonda, really what I was going to do is hit the highlights of what the major portions of what he said it's going for. Do you want to come up and share that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
You polished it up a little bit, Ron.
30, yeah. She said, you'll polish it up if you need to. I did want to get into, and this is good, that if you have questions, she can help answer them. But I was going to go the high level. There's no way I could go the whole, get into all of the weeds of that. I was going to go the very, very high level, and then if you had some questions.
Can I ask you a question before you start this
question?
Back on the county employee raise, it went from 5% to 2.5%. What does that equate to money-wise? Do you have any idea, or?
Yes, I know that. You're talking about the total raises, what the percent would be. Yes, I know that. And if I can get it in a couple of seconds, I'll get it. If I can't, I'll let you know. Here in a minute. Oh gosh, that's mine. Oh, whose phone's ringing? Take it off the table.
There was talk of a 5% increase, and then the mayor decided to lower it to
2.5. Yes.
All right.
And you're wanting to know how many dollars that equates to.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would say, let me get back to you and do that, but everybody might have that same question. Employee raises. Now here, this is kind of, it says employee raises, including the benefits, everything like that is 5.3 million. But let me say what that is. That's not just the county portion I said there. Well, it is the county portion, but that includes the sheriff's department that I told you. We were raising the sheriff's departments everywhere. So we're spending 5.3 million on raises for all county employees, but including the sheriff's department. And there's a good portion of that is for the sheriff's department because we're bringing them up. The sheriff's department will average, I've got down here, the sheriff's department will average about 5 or a little higher, maybe 6% because of raising them up.
And how many employees does that cover?
No, you're tough on me. Employees does that cover? I'll have to wait and answer that for you. Employees. I don't have off the top of my head how many employees. But that's all county employees. And that would include, like I said, and I can get you the figure you're talking about for the 5 going to 2.5. That was just for the county employees, not the sheriff's department. I can tell you what that difference in dollars is just for that.
So that would be like, for an average person, maybe like a $600 raise, $700 raise. Do you know about how much that would be per person?
Well, the 2.5% on what their salary is. So, so the lower ones are lower and higher ones are higher ones. Let me tell you what they've done the last two, and I like this, what they've done the last couple of years in the last couple of budgets we've done. When they give a raise like that, they set a minimum. They did it in this budget too. Everybody gets 2.5%. A minimum is $1,250.
That's not what
Now what they do there is if a person's making whatever, a lower amount, and 2.5% gives them $800, they get, the minimum raise is $1,250.
Okay.
What that does is it keeps that gap from getting wider and wider.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, yes. So they do have a minimum of the $1,250. Okay, good question. School portion, 34 million. There's some, I pulled off their section here, key investments. And I've got here, the first one says accelerating student achievement, adding school counselors, social workers, and behavior specialists to work with the students, enhancing special education to meet requirements for inclusive classes. I'm sure y'all have some questions on this, so let me go through them. Future ready students, expanding students' access to technology, arts, and innovative programs, ensuring students access to complete at least 5 post-secondary courses and or industry certificates while in high school. Number 3, great teachers and leaders. That's their heading. Increasing teacher and staff compensation to recruit and retain the best talent, providing more support for new teachers and professional development for all staff. Efficient and effective operations, increasing transportation operations to help more families access over 40 school choices. And then another portion of that, effective operations, investing in capital maintenance for the buildings. And I think I saw that here that dollar amount, that capital investment was $3 million, that they wanted to put in there, $3 million to spend in capital investment. And then engage community, making sure parents, I don't know where the money fits in on this, making sure parents are involved in student learning and informed about school choices, making sure parents are involved. Well, that's a tough job there, but making sure parents are involved. That's the key point. Now that's a very, very broad, but that's key points that they've mentioned on here's what we want the money to do. And Rhonda, remind me, that's hiring how many extra employees?
350.
That's the number I had in my mind. That's 350 new employees for the Department of Education to do what we said we want to do there.
Randy, my question is, after the county commission authorized this much money or what it is for the school, then you guys have nothing to say before it goes. It's left up to Rhonda, and then I correct
Oh,
her.
no, it's up to the school board.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're part of the school.
Yeah, but it's up to the school board. This is just a budget, it's not a, they're not saying this is what you have to spend it on, they give us that money, and they can move it around anywhere they want, and they do that a lot.
What they do, any budget does that. What any budget does, he says, we want this amount of money and here's what it's for. Well, obviously, you said that, obviously. Once we say, okay, we pass this and give them the money, we can't say, no, wait a minute, you said, here's where you've got to spend that money. We can't do that. I mean, it's out of our hands. The county commissions, once the money's turned over, it's their money. So we can't tell where they spend it.
Yeah. It seems to me it ain't exactly the right people that's retired and living on a fixed income and does not have children in school and receive a very limited amount of county services according to where they live. It just don't seem to be right. They should also have to pay for this tax increase. And how much of a tax increase is that mayor going to get? How much of a raise is he going to get?
So you mean raise?
Yeah, off that budget. Yeah, those two questions.
Okay, well, I can answer your question. The mayor's raise will be 155 times 2.5%. What's yours? Are you a math guy? I just quoted you his salary. That's his salary, 2.5%.
What about the elderly people living on a fixed income? That why should they have to buy cars over there? They don't have kids in school anymore. That don't seem right. What about that?
I understand. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it is.
Now, and let me say this, I didn't say this earlier. Here's what I'm planned on doing tonight, what I want to do. I wanted to start out, and I'll give you my opinion, whatever it's worth, later on, before we leave. I want to start out tonight trying to present, unbiased, trying to present, here's what is proposed, and then get your input on, just like you give, sir, just then, give your input on what your opinion is on this and everything, and then, because that's what we need is the input. So I did not, on purpose,
would be appropriate to this district, whether it's Solid Daisy, Sail Creek, how many would you be in this district?
Well, that's a good question. We asked that question, the superintendent said we're going to fill where they're needed. I personally, I know exactly what that means, but I personally am very upset because Selkirk High School does not even have a higher level math teacher. And the students at Selkirk High School, one of the assistant principals is here, if you want to take a higher level math class at Selkirk High School, you have to do dual enrollment at Chattanooga State, and your parents have to pay for it. I'm very upset about that because I see that one of the main things, first things we're hiring 15 truancy officers, which is in this plan. So we're taking kids that show up at school every day and want to be there, are having to pay for classes, and we're paying, we already have 10 truant officers, now we're going to have 15 more, so it'll be 25. So now we're paying, going to pay 15 more truant officers to drag kids to school that don't want to be there. When the kids that are there want to be there, want to excel, they have to pay for their classes. So, those are the kind of things, I mean, I'm just a Cell Creek, sitting up there by the football field, we had the football field finally, after scraping and stuff, to have to drive to the family stadium to play football. Not one penny of money in any of our building plans so far has had anything for Cell Creek in there. Personally, I think they have a great case for a lawsuit. It's inequity at the high school. We have an equity task force, and it's like they can't see the forest for the trees. But, you know, there's a lot of things that go up here, and I don't know, I mean, just things like that. I don't think we need all these parents, like he says, how can you make parents get involved in their kids' education if they don't want to? You say, how's that cost money, Randy? What they do is they hire people to go out and bring parents to the school. They have all these things trying to get parents involved. You know, we used to do that with PTA, now we pay people to do that. So, you know, I don't know how much it's going to come our way, but they said that they're going to put them where they're needed, and where they're needed is usually at the lower performing schools, and thank God that we're not in that category. But that doesn't mean our kids need to be shortchanged, and the rural poor get left out. And, you know, that's one of the big problem I have with this budget, is we get shortchanged, we do it every time. I know it's like the school system sitting there and say, I don't care, you'll find out, I don't care, I'll say your school board meeting is what I think. But anyway, that's my thing. So how many we're going to get, we haven't been told, and if we don't get a tax increase, we still get $9 million in growth. That's enough to give the teachers a raise. And while we're at it, speaking of teacher raises, what makes me so angry at teachers, it's not that I don't want them to have money. I don't know why they keep settling for the price. I mean, you can give them a 5% raise. With this kind of money, a starting teacher ought to be able to make $40,000 a year. But no, we spend it on all this other stuff. You know, if the teacher in the classroom, the student, is the most important thing that there is, why don't we put more emphasis on the teacher in the classroom? And stop all this other nonsense that they say it's in the schoolhouse. Those, to me, are not positions that are in the schoolhouse. And that's how they get around it. They say, well, all this stuff's going to be in the schoolhouse, but trust me, it's not needed in the schoolhouse. You need to concentrate on the teacher in the classroom. And all this other fluff is just that, because I have a list here. Matter of fact, I'm writing a letter to chattanooga.com. I hope to get finished there tomorrow. And list all the things that have been, some of our inner city schools have been failing for 30 years and are still failing. And all the things, all the extra things they have in those schools. That is not what we need. We need parental involvement. We need students that respect their teachers. They don't respect themselves. They don't respect the teachers. The education is not important to them. They don't want to come to school. We make them come to school. When they get there, they act out and keep the kids that want to learn from learning. So, to me, we do everything backwards. We always have. And,
Oh, can you say that?
yes, I did.
Oh, we're taking.
That's not a bad word, is it? No.
Not since you changed it.
I think you've heard of it. But anyway, it's just, you know, that's just my feelings about it.
For full disclosure now, so you didn't mention this, but I'll mention this. For full disclosure, I think when the school board passed the budget, it was 7-2.
Yes.
Was the vote 7-2, and Ms. Thurman, I think, voted against it, and Mr. Highlander, Dr. Highlander, I think, voted against this budget. So, okay, cool.
How many new positions are being created at central office, or people shuffled to a new position at central office that's coming through this budget as well? That's not having an impact on the students.
Well, I have a little list of we have a testing coordinator, an IS training and development, social worker, truancy officer, 15 new truancy officers, director of social and emotional learning, clerical assistant, director, area learning coach, technology, integration coach, elementary content lead teacher, human capital coordinator, induction specialist, human resources, benefit generalist, assistant principal. Some of our schools are getting us in this budget. More assistant principals. I think Ullswaw is going to have 3 assistant principals, because they haven't here for them to get another one. What do they call them? A dean of students and a principal.
So a lot of them are at that level, but not, administrative levels, and not directly affecting the classroom
Yeah,
students.
and in some of our schools, they say, like schools up in our area, they say that, you know, because the reason that people like Selfie get shortchanged, in my opinion, is because they don't have a huge student body. Of course, they're growing, and they're going to continue to grow. But, you know, they get teachers cut. because they don't have enough kids in the classroom. Well, duh, but I would much rather have a teacher in the classroom with 7 or 8 students than truancy officers running all over the place. I mean, these people make about $40,000 a year. It's not like you were just paying them, you know, for picking up a few kids. I mean, you can hire a starting teacher for that. Of course, by the time you have benefits, it's 10,000, but still, it's, you know, you take a few truancy officers and put a math teacher in a class or something. Yeah, it's just common sense to me. I just don't understand why it's so hard.
Thank you. I'll get right to you. Yes.
This might be more for Rhonda than you, but
Since
why
we're on
we
the
need
school.
so many counselors for schools nowadays? You know, in our days, in our kids' days, there was a guidance counselor for a whole high school. Now they're adding 3 or 4 per school. Why not hire this math teacher that we need at Sale Creek instead of all these counselors just to run their mouth because somebody's sensitive? I'm tired of these sensitive kids nowadays. They're putting cry rooms in universities. Stop that here in the high schools. Make these kids grow up a little bit.
Crowd?
They're putting cry rooms in universities out west.
I could use one when I was in school. I used to go home and cry.
But we're talking about adults, Randy. Come on now.
Yeah.
And maybe Rhonda's better qualified to answer that particular question. We need a higher level math teacher at Sale Creek.
Oh, we did lots of that.
But what do we need all these counselors for?
Excuse me.
All these high dollar counselors.
Well, we have a lot of counselors, kids have a lot, they bring a lot of things, but let me tell you, the school that really are not school problems, they bring a lot of society kind of things to the school that are not school problems, and teachers have to deal with a lot of things they shouldn't have to deal with, in my opinion. But, you know, maybe we do need counselors, I don't know how many counselors the different schools have. But the biggest problem we have in school, the number one reason you can't keep teachers is behavior. The number one reason you can't retain bus drivers, student behavior. Number one reason that kids go to private schools, student behavior. Because
That's a federal government problem because nobody can correct a child anymore. Teacher can't, parent
this is the
can't.
problem. We need to deal with student behavior. If you did that, we wouldn't have a lot of these retention problems that we have in the schoolhouse. But here again, we do peer mediation and conflict resolution and all this stuff that means nothing. But the teachers are afraid to teach in some of our schools, and it just makes me furious. We should not have a teacher in this system who is afraid to go to school and be in a classroom.
Ever since the school boards merged, the county schools, as it was, has gone downhill.
Well, no, the schools that are in former county are still pretty good schools.
Well, they're still pretty good schools, but they're not.
We have to.
They're not the level they used to be before the merger was sitting in. You know, it was going to solve all of our problems. It was going to solve a lot of debt.
So you drank the Kool-Aid, it didn't work.
So for years, ever since I can remember, they put these tax free boys for the children. Oh, it's for the schools. And it rocks on and on and on, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, buying the schools still have problems. I think some of that money's going to someplace else. It ain't going to schools like it ought to be. That money's going somewhere. And I'm not so darn naive to believe the schools get everything they need. All the money's going to schools like it ought to be. But they've always cried the schools need it. Well, schools ain't got it. That money's going somewhere.
Let me say this. I don't think
I'm
I
not that
mentioned.
naive here.
Let me mention this. Roughly, within a percent or two, 61% of all of our whole budget goes to the Department of Education. So every dime we take in from the taxpayers and bring all the money in and everything, the school portion of our budget this year, I think it's right at 61% of the money goes to the schools.
Yeah, just saw it in the news before we got here.
Yeah, so 61%. So here's something I disagree with. I don't want to get into saying a bunch of stuff I disagree with, but here's something I disagree with is for people to state sometimes, well, we don't care about education in Hamilton County. I mean, 61% of the budget is quite a bit of the taxpayers' money to go to one area, and that's the schools. So we do. I do have one fact here I wanted to tell you, I wanted to give you, and let me just give you this one fact. And it's just a fact. I'm not pushing one way or the other, but it's a fact. I've got the budgets here from the Department of Education from fiscal year 15 through 19, start now. And that budget has increased $41 million from 15 to 19, 41 million. And then this year, the proposed budget, if it passed, then for the full, that'd be 6 years, for the full 6 years, the increase would be $101 million. That the budget has increased, $101 million.
It's insane.
So that would be a 6-year increase, $101 million. So the budgets are increasing, we're getting more money in there. It's just that, and the biggest portion of that is growth money. She threw that out a second ago, and just so everyone will know, because I might have thrown that money out. What we mean growth money, when everybody talks about, oh, we get this much growth money, I had the dollar figure in here that we were getting extra this year in the county government, not the school portion, but county government. She just said the school portion was about $9 million. I forgot what the county portion was. Growth money means that here we are this year, we get this more money in. When we come to next year, growth money is extra money we get in, extra taxes from all the building that's going on. Extra taxes that come in from this year to the next year on the growth. All the houses going up, your business is going up. We get this additional amount of money in coming in. So what happens is the school board, what she's saying each year is on they get their growth money every year. If we say, hey, we're not giving you any more money in your budget. This year, if we said, you're not getting $34 extra million in your budget, if we didn't vote that in, their increase from last year to this year would be the $9 million they got extra from last year.
So get ready to go to 34 with the 9, that's 43. The school system will be getting $43 million more this year, not just 34, but also the 9.
They would get the 9. The $34 million is extra allotment from us. Question?
We're talking about 34 million this year, so over 3 years, we're talking 102 million more than just the growth amount that's would be coming in. My question is, one, what are the benchmark academic, marks or achievements that we're looking at that's going to determine whether it's a success? And two, if we don't hit them in 3 years, we spend 102 million, whose job's gone? Who's held accountable for that? Because if we're going to spend 102 million, we dang well better get some results. That's what I'm wanting to find out.
Whose job?
I love your honesty.
They'll make a money, because what we do is it's like rearranging furniture on the Titanic. If this program don't work, those people that ran that program that was supposed to be great, and listen, I sit up at night reading old budgets and things. I've been up 2 or 3 nights this week reading and looking over old newspaper clippings from back in 1997 when the schools merged. Same argument every year. It never changes. All you can do is change the date on it. But we started more programs. I have a list of programs in here that we're starting some of our inner city schools that blow your mind, the amount of money we spend on them. Okay, then they just kind of fade away. Then they start a new program. Same people come and then they run that program. We'll run that program. That's it takes 5 years to see a difference. You may run it for 3 or 4 years to see it's not working. When you start another one, then you say, well, it's going to take 5 years to show a difference in that. It's like a mouse on a wheel. It's like it never stops. The same people just keep running the programs over and over. And then those people never go away. You better demote them, or not really demote them, just put them in another side job. And then we hire outside people to come in. And then there they are. Then the people that ran these programs are still there being paid, but we're bringing in new people to start new programs. And it's like three-quarter money. You cannot keep up with it. You just can't.
In 3 years, we're going to have 300 counselors running around that have no accountability. And then we're going to have to hire an outside consulting firm to tell us what to do with the counselors.
Yeah, we're doing it right now. We spent $500,000 to bring in this shows you how much extra money we have. We spent $500,000 to bring in a consulting group to tell us what we need in our schools, what our facility needs were. All you have to do is call the principal. They'll tell you what they need in their school. We've done it before. They make a list. They give it to you. It's simple enough. We paid $500,000, and I guarantee you, when we get their assessment, we'll probably need $500 million worth of work done. I mean, they're arming their money.
How much do we pay to find a new superintendent?
Well, you can't be right around here.
Let me get this guy.
Got a question, and it's relative to the organization United Ed that came in, Unified Ed, that was requested to develop an action plan for education excellence, AEX, which I got a little bit of it right here.
Yes.
And what I was reading, when you were talking about the budget items the school system is requesting, there are things in here that I'm wondering if you're ever going to find out about, which is implement the community school model, food assistance, health and wellness clinics, after-school programs, health and nutrition programs, counseling, child care, parenting classes, cultural competence training for school staff, and then serve as a community hub providing services such as health and wellness services, mentoring, food and clothing assistance programs, and after-school services. So when you made a comment, after the budget is approved, and after it is basically dumped over into the Hamilton County Department of Education, that somehow you sort of lose control on who's spending money on what. Well, they paid a bunch of money to get this study completed and listed these as priorities, along with a whole bunch more.
We already have some community schools. What school are our community schools? You know, off the top of your head, we have some.
Red Bank.
Red Bank.
Red Bank.
We already have some of them. And, I've always asked, that's wear and tear on our schools. I mean, I still think you have to vote yourself in every night, every day to get into school, and tonight we just don't get up, everybody comes in.
So when I look at something like this, and with a lot of the things that are rather strange to me, of course I've been out of school for a very long time, but with the mission of educating our students, the mission is growing incrementally, duplicating services that's already provided in the city of Chattanooga or even in Hamilton County.
Some of the things, boy, this is an opinion, but I'll throw it out there. And my wife's in the back. If I start saying stuff I'm not supposed to, cut me off. Some of the problems I think we have, and I'm just guessing, is, in my opinion, money will never totally fix some of the social and economic and some of the problems we have. It just will not fit. And I think the ideal is we can do that with money. When I mean money, how they fix it with money. Let's start some programs or hire some people that will help with that. It's hard. Now, I'll be the very first to say, and I've told everybody I've ever talked to this, I don't have that answer. I don't have the answer to how you get kids in school that don't want to come to school. You're talking about how you get those there, how you solve that. I don't. No amount of money could put me in these people's position to try to figure that out, because I think I'm fairly smart and can figure out some problems. I can never take that problem. I don't know the answer to that, but I truly believe it's not just, hey, let's hire some more people. Let's hire more people and let's put more money and put more money. I don't think that will, unfortunately, I don't think after a period of time we'll say, hey, we've put extra money, extra people. Oh, now look. Those children's lives and everything and home life and stuff has really greatly increased. That's unfortunate to say. That's just my opinion. I don't think that. I don't know the answer. I really don't.
Well, when they came up with this recommendation, I was just curious. Anyone, board-wide or wherever, had knowledge of any other school system in the region or in the country that has all of this applied is really super effective. We're just, like you say, pushing a lot of money out there in hopes that it might address concerns.
Yes, I know this. I hear this all the time from people that's outside the school system or outside the realm, don't have kids and stuff in there. I hear this all the time, and I think, yeah, if we could solve it. They say, hey, I'll tell you what the problem is. Their family, their parents need to be involved. Well, their parents, number one, a lot of times there's just one parent. Number one, a lot of times there's zero parent as far as I mean, you can talk to teachers and they'll tell you time and time again when they say some of these children, it's just sad, but they'll say, listen, how do you think you'd be able to teach a child that, number one, got up and got themselves ready for school? Now, anybody that's ever been a parent that's had kids in school, can you imagine a child getting up and trying to get themselves ready to go to school? But they said a child will come to school, they've got themselves ready to come to school. They come to school hungry, hadn't eaten and stuff. I don't, it's sad. That's sad, and I can feel the teachers' pain. What they're saying is then I've got the job to educate that child when they come that way. How far am I behind the 8 ball trying to educate that child with that? They said it's almost virtually impossible. And then some people will say, well, there's your problem. The parents need to get involved. Well, you'll also have teachers that I had one teacher recently tell me, say, I made about 3 calls to a parent for a child that was misbehaving, had 3 calls. The third time the parent said, don't call me back. I don't want to hear, don't call me back. I don't want to hear. That's, and some of us, until I got in this job and started hearing these stories, I was clueless to that. I mean, I ain't grown up in that environment, so I don't understand it. And I was clueless to that. I mean, it breaks your heart, but how is it solved? Remember I told you just a second ago, I wouldn't even know how to start to solve that.
Rhonda, how much grant money comes into the school system each
Oh,
year?
that's, I probably have in my budget, but I said, you know, right off the top of your head, how much grant money we get lots of grants, not grants.
Somewhere between 5 to 10 million.
And does that fund different programs or those programs
Oh,
or?
it funds all kinds of programs.
Okay.
That means-
But correct me if I'm
And then,
wrong.
excuse me, I'm just follow up. And then when the grant runs out, are those positions then absorbed into the system or are they?
Sometimes, oh yeah, there's a lot of times that we hire people to run grant programs and stuff, and then we end up keeping them, so that happens a lot.
And what I was fixing to add is, to your first question, and isn't this true, Ron, any grant money that comes in from the federal government, they say, here's what this is for, and you have to spend the money on that, what that's for. You have to spend the grant money, I mean, that's the way it is
A
in
lot of
Kansas.
grants are matching grants that we have to match the grant, like if you want to give me 10 million, your promise, I'll put 10 million with it or something like that.
I just wondered how much grant money came into the system each year.
Yes. Right.
Okay. Sorry I was late.
No, you're fine. We waited on you, waited as long as we could, and then we had to go ahead.
We had to
Well,
work prepare taxes.
yeah.
Good point, good point.
Okay, so, I know you're kind of right now on the school system, but, is this budget, just so I understand the process, do you vote like a yes or a no, or can you change the numbers around and then vote on it? Like you can decide, no, we're not giving that much money to that program, or is this just like, this is the budget and it's either a pass-fail kind?
Here's who that's up to. That's up to the presenters. Right now, the mayor, and then in conjunction with the commission, just votes yes or no. You know, so this budget, if they've presented it right now, if nothing else is said, they'll take a vote. 9 people will vote at the end of the month. Before that time happens, yes, there is a possibility. Before that time happens, through discussions and everything, if there's discussions, through discussions, now I'm just giving an example. This might happen, it might not. Through discussions, the mayor might see it ain't gonna pass. He might go to the superintendent and say, I can tell you it's not gonna pass. I mean, we can hold the line and go, but it ain't gonna pass. Do you want us to cut down and say, okay, try to get half that? That can happen. Yes, it can happen. And I think this was before you came in that I said this. The tax proposal right now is 34 cents, just the school portion. The
34
county.
million, 34 cents, what's the?
The $34 million would be a 34-cent tax increase per 100. And I brought that for each one. Here's what I wanted. I brought this because this is one of the most important things, and I meant to run copies and I didn't. But just so you'll know for now and for the future, and this is playing up here, anybody can look at it. This tells, but it's based now on this 34% tax increase. If you had a property value $200,000, that's roughly $170 a year. That's important to know. If your house is $250,000, $212,000. This is, if this budget passed and this 34 million extra for the schools increased our rate in the county 34 cents per hundred,
Is
then
that
this,
the increase or how much you would pay?
no,
That's
increase.
That's the
Your,
increase.
on a $150,000 home, your taxes would go up
Okay,
$127 a year.
that's not how much you would pay, that's how much they would go up.
Increase.
Okay.
That's the
So I
increase.
have a follow-up question and then I'll let somebody else.
Okay.
Honestly, and you also, how much do you think people, like, say I was in some department, and we'll not make it schools because I can't, those numbers, okay? Say I wanted a $2 million from my department. How much do you think that, just your opinion, that if I want $2 million, my attitude is I'm going to ask for 4 and then I can negotiate down to 2 and still get what I want?
I would
Do
be,
you think that people inflate, out of all those people asking for their area? And another thing that I'm really concerned about is, how come social services for our communities? Because we have so many different people in, especially the Stock Daisy area, Sail Creek area, we've got churches and everybody else that are doing food banks and everything else. How come only less than 1% of our budget is for social services to help people that are really, really in need? Because there are people in this community that, they're not slackers, they are really in need. That, like you said, this kid is going to school and got himself ready for school. He needs to be fed a meal so he can concentrate, you know. But there are people that are really in need in this community, and there's a lot with our food banks and people that build ramps for handicapped people and stuff. How come only 1% of our budget, less than 1%, because I watched it was on the news right before we left the house, is for social services? And then also, how much do you think people inflate, hoping that they'll negotiate back down to what they really want?
now let me take the inflate question first.
Sure thing.
I would hope to think that hadn't done a lot. Would I be naive to say, I mean, I've done budgets for 30 years and handed in budgets. Would I be naive to say that's never done? Come up here and settle down here, of course. I mean, people do that. I know this, and I was trying to flip through to see the amount here. Here's, on doing the county budget, for right now, the county budget, we had the people come before us wanting the increase. Here's what all we want. And he put it together, and it's that big inflated number. So he cut the 15 million out of those requests to get down, and then he moved some other money from here to here to do some of that sheriff's department stuff and like that and everything. So I have to believe that when we're cutting out some things that we really could use, and we're cutting some of those out and everything, and I've got a list of some stuff in here that we cut, that he cut and said we're not doing this, that are very, very good things, I think, well, I wish we could do. You just can't always do everything you want to do. So he's cut some stuff out. That makes me feel like we're doing, now are we there perfect where, oh, we're not wasting $1? No, that'd be naive to think that. Or are we getting down to where when we cut some stuff like that, we're getting down to trying to get pretty lean? I think we are. Let me answer your second question, is you've got a huge, and I fit somewhere in this category, you've got a huge amount of people out there, their opinion is it's not government's responsibility to pay money for some things you were talking about, social services. They're saying those things you named. They said that's the church, that's there again, that's the family, that's the, you know, they say that's not government's role, is to pay money for there. Now we do pay a little money in our budget, and I could show you where we pay a little money in there that goes toward that. But be honest with you, out of our whole budget, we don't pay a whole lot of money for those type of things, social services and stuff like that. There's not a lot paid there. But the general consensus of people in government is that's not government's role.
Right, and maybe I should have chose social services, but yeah, apparently it's the teacher's role. But I mean, when I saw the pie chart right before we left the house, and we were thinking we were going to be late, because I'm on some sort of jury duty this week, so I think I went late. But I said, no, we got to go. I said, look at that pie chart. I said, that's just ridiculous. It's 61% of the schools. And so I said, let's go see what about
And in defense of the school, in defense of some of the schools though, we did feed kids. Most of them are ready.
Yes, I understand.
They get it for free for breakfast and lunch. really are struggling, and I know there's some principals and assistant principals and things here, that they know the kids, and they really keep an eye on those kids, just like Randy Fairbanks school. But, you know, so the families that were really struggling, and Mr. Eldridge and some of the other people in the office, you know, kind of watch those kids to be sure they had everything they needed, and they still do that. And, you know, they don't have to have a special program to do that, that's just what they do because the teachers don't care about the kids.
Because you can't focus if your mind's not working.
Well, yeah, well, I guess the kids get breakfast, and the teachers make sure the kids are eating and stuff. As long as they're getting them to school, they're key.
Yeah, well, yes, ma'am.
I have 2 points to follow up on that. I have friends that are teachers. I don't have kids in school. I'll just say that. But I have friends that are teachers, and it's really sad that some of the stories that you hear, they have to buy kids shoes, they have to buy kids coats, they have to buy supplies for their classroom. I made a friend of mine cry last year because I bought her have a great school year box of copy paper for her classroom and put a bow on it, and she cried and thanked me and hugged me. I find that really odd, and I said, I thought kids had supply lists that they were supposed to purchase each year, which included copy paper and things like that. She said most kids don't purchase it, so even though it's a required item.
Well, here again, this is where the churches need to step up. I'm sorry, but the schools can't, the teachers can't expect teachers to do that. Churches are always looking for things to do, organizations are always looking for things to do. There's always kids out there that need a lot of parents get a lot of money. There should be spent on the children, they spend on other things. And that's not the kids' fault either. But, you know.
But the teachers don't get paid a lot to begin with compared to other school systems, but then they're having to take care of it.
That's not really true.
Well, okay, but my other question is for you. And so we've seen where several schools have been built or in the process of being built. So I have several friends that are teachers at the middle school here in Soddy Daisy. I mean, when I was there in the mid-'80s, it was in bad shape. So
It's you can ask every time we're at Soddy Daisy Middle and Self Creek High School, Soddy Daisy Middle, a lot of people think that building is abandoned, it was so bad.
so is there anything?
Well, yeah, but they spent, of course, they did tell me they spent that $700,000 on that this year recently, but most of that was on the roof. And they need to tear the portables down behind them, build an addition to Soddy Daisy Middle, and that's what needs to be done. We've had property given, or this will be given to make an entrance way to Soddy Daisy Middle School, so that we can widen the road and get a north exit ramp out of there to keep back the moving glad to hear that. The buses, because it just backs up so bad there at Soddy Daisy Middle School. I had somebody who's going to get some property there from the church to get that property. And nobody seems interested in getting it done. I sent people up there to look at it, but I keep pounding the podium trying to get something done about it. But we need to tear down the portables, and we keep having snakes at the school. We keep finding snakes at the school, and we keep putting them in these plastic containers. And I told the superintendent they're coming to his office, and I'm just so serious as a heart attack if I can get a safety when it's going to his office. I'm tired of dealing with it. He said, I hate snakes. I said, well, I guess you think people at Sunday will like them. So, you know, we're gonna get that problem taken care of, and it's just gonna take the community just, you know, outrage. And just outrage about it, because if they have done a lot of work up there, it does look nice, to give it. The money that they spend on Soddy Daisy Middle is nothing compared to what they spend on some of these other schools.
See, and that's a double-edged sword. I know Soddy Middle is in bad shape.
She's at Soddy Daisy Middle.
Soddy Daisy Middle is in bad shape. Well, I'm from Red Bank, so.
Yeah. No, I was born in Soddy. I was born in Daisy.
Where'd you go to school, Rhonda?
I went to Red Bank.
We went to Red Bank. I'm not gonna let her get away with that. We went to Red Bank.
But I was born in Daisy on Main Street.
But Soddy Daisy Middle, here's the situation we have. Do they need a roof? Yes. I cringe every time we put big money in there, because I know, common sense is going to tell you the more big money we put in there, who's going to go put, let me just say, who's going to go put a $500,000 roof on there and then build a new school the next year or put them on there? So I want the stuff fixed, but I mean, I did it about my fire hall, your fire hall. They wanted to come up there and spend a bunch of money, and I said, no, let's don't spend that money. And people were saying, you don't want to fix that fire. No, I want a fire hall. I don't want to, and they're not going to go, common sense is they're not going to put millions of dollars in a building and then say, okay, it's top on the list to get a new school. No, we just put $1 million. So that's a double-edged sword. I mean, yes, I want some stuff fixed there, but I'd rather have is be on the school list. Let me get this lady here, her arm's tired from holding up.
No, I'm fine. I just wanted to get back to Tom's comment when he was reading the list of the social services. One of the problems with having the school deliver the social services is school's not in session all year long. So you've got kids right now, those same kids who would be served by the school who are waking up this morning hungry. And they're going without their lunch, and they're going without their dinner. It's one of the reasons we've got 600 nonprofits in this area, because nonprofits do a better job, if you will, of delivering year-round. Like in Eastlake right now, you've got 150 kids at the Salvation Army who are in summer day camp at no cost to them, and they're eating breakfast and lunch, and they're getting their snacks, and they're getting all of those social services, including shoes and clothing, and the school isn't the right medium for those services. They're probably good services, but to tack that on, here's one of the problems. You don't have case management in the schools so that you can follow that.
Don't tell them.
One of the things that the Salvation Army has and the food bank has, and all of these nonprofits that deliver the social services so well, is they've got this case management. I was talking with the pastor, the senior pastor at Brainerd Baptist the other day, and he was talking about their new food pantry and their new this and that, and I was telling him about the Salvation Army's food pantry, and he said, why are we doing it if y'all are doing it? And I started listing all the other agencies that also have food pantries, all the other churches. There's a huge duplication already. We don't need the schools involved in social services. Save that money, give it to the Salvation Army or the food bank, or give it to a nonprofit according to your faith. Whatever the Bible says you ought to be doing with your money, you do that. Keep it out of the schools, and we'll deliver it year-round.
See, and I mean, if I ever heard anyone say, well, we're doing that too, but you are doing that, we need to stop doing it. I mean, duplicate of services, I mean, I don't think anybody ought to stop until we say, well, everybody's getting fed now, I wish there was some way, boy, I'm getting way off line here, but I wish there was some way we could channel the churches. And I know there's a lot of churches that do a lot of good and help out. I wish we could funnel the information to the churches that if they wanted a project to take on, find a school or do what these things at the
There
school.
are a lot of churches that used to do that, and they figured out that they do it poorly, and they're duplicating services. In fact, the Presbyterian Church in Red Bank, right there in the curves, came to me at Angel Tree time, and they said, you know what? We have talked to so many other churches and just found out that we're all trying to do the same thing poorly. And so, in order to do it well, and know that every child in need was being reached, they came into the Salvation Army. And I'm not trying to push the Salvation Army. I mean, the Salvation
Here in
Army.
Sunny Days, it's the Northside Neighborhood House.
Yes, it is. And there's another guy up in Saudi who has a food bank, and he is fantastic. But we meet as a board through the EFSP to make sure that all services, whether it's housing, food, clothing, utilities, emergency utility, that's all being taken care of. And we all know which agency is doing that. The school cannot get in there and deliver 24/7 all year long. They just can't, because they're not open.
That's not our job.
And it's not their job. Yeah, that's not their job. Right here, real quick.
Question one, has anybody ever took an account of how much food on these free breakfasts and free lunches it's the trash can? For the simple fact, it might taste good, but it's not what kids want to eat. They may drink their milk and throw everything else away. But that's just a waste.
That's not part of this discussion, and it's not.
Yeah, it is, because tax money paying for this food.
Those children need food.
They need food, but they're not getting the food they want to eat.
But just a way I'll say, but I'll say this, they do have sharing tables at schoolhouses, and the things that kids don't eat, if they don't want it, they go and put it on a table with another child, so they can have it. We do
They
that.
have a small cooler, so they put the milk
And
in.
they do.
Some schools do that.
And question two, have you ever thought of a tax freeze for seniors? You're talking about $127 for a $150,000 home tax increase. My Social Security sure didn't go up that much over the course of the year.
Let me tell you this, and that's a good subject, but it's a big subject, so I'll try to do it down in this month. Recently, we did something a couple of years ago. The state had this program in, so when we had that increase a couple of years ago, we put that in. Here's the problem with that. Those limits are so low, very few people. You know, that's probably why you're saying, why don't you have one in? We have one in. You've got to almost be destitute to qualify for those. In my opinion, it needs to be raised a little bit, because you've got two people drawing Social Security. If they draw decent Social Security, they make too much for that freeze. It's very, very low. I mean, a household income, gosh, I'm going to say 24,000 or something like that. I mean, it's too low. So to answer your question, we have something in place. The state put it in, and the counties decide whether they want to do it. We put something in like that. There's some families that take advantage of it, but it don't cover a lot of people.
Is our Social Security not higher because we worked and paid taxes all these years?
Yes. I'm happy for your Social Security. I'm just saying you don't qualify for the
That's the
freeze.
problem. They need to be a freeze for all senior citizens, because our income, you know, we're having to pay more for drugs, more for food, more for utilities, and when we get to taxes, we don't have it.
I second that.
That lead, sir,
He seconds it.
did you second that?
I second that.
Wait, it wasn't a motion.
I second that anyway.
He's second.
I made a motion.
He made a motion.
All right, it's up to you.
Before the infirm said that, you know, some of them in a wheelchair. And I know of a family, several years ago, a woman dead now, but now she lived in her tax and had 4 kids. They all had to go in every year and pay her tax because her husband's Social Security just wasn't enough. And
So-
they had to put money just to pay her taxes.
So let me say
You know.
this. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You know, it's only right. When you get so old and you're not working anymore, it should be frozen. The county could do something if they really, really wanted to, in their hearts, they could.
Okay.
And a lot of those older people will vote too. The county mayor might want to think about y'all having it easy.
Well, hey, hang on.
Before I get short.
Wait. Now that's the best statement of the night. He said, I'm leaving before I get more pissed off. That's a great guy right there. But he didn't wait for the grand finale. He didn't wait to vote. Let me say this, and I don't want to hold y'all too long, but listen to this. I've had plenty of people call me up till tonight. Hey, call me and email me and stuff like that. From now until the end, if you've got another question, feel free to call me, or if you've got input. But before we leave, I want to do two things. I want to take a show of hands who's for and against the way it is right now. And then, I mean, it really wouldn't be, nobody's asked this yet, but it really wouldn't be fair if we left here and I didn't tell you, you know, where I stand, what I'm thinking right now. So
That's my question.
if you had
What's
a,
your position?
Yeah, okay, there you go.
okay. Number one, well, let me say this before I vote, because I don't want, here's my position. It would be easier for me to support an increase, probably not one this big, but it'd be easier for me. The toughest thing about me supporting any increase anytime is the senior citizens, what's been brought up. Do me and my wife, the situation we're in right now, do we like to pay more taxes? No, nobody does. Can I afford to? Yes, I can. I had and I won't prolong this, but my mom was a widow for 15 years, and she was on Social Security by herself, and she owned a home there at the beginning, right after my dad passed. I saw what a struggle it was for her to pay, so I've seen it. Now, my mother-in-law, is a widow. She's got a home. I see how that is, struggling. So, and I'm not trying to convey that if it wasn't for seniors, I'd always vote for a tax increase, but it would be a little easier for me to bite the bullet myself and other people bite the bullet. I have a problem with continuing or voting for a tax increase because of the seniors, mainly because of the seniors. So to wrap that up, let me just tell you where I stand right now. If the vote was taken tomorrow, and I don't see anything changing between now and the end of the month, but if the vote was taken tomorrow, I'd be a no vote. I can't support the tax increase at this time. Now, I could go on forever explaining why we had that increase a couple of years ago and stuff. And let me say this for complete, do I think the superintendent's doing a good job? Yes. Heading in the right direction? Yes. Perfect? No. None of us is perfect. I would like, before I can support some more money for the schools, I would like to see some more results. A good example, and he's already gone now, but a good example is the guy back here said, what if we pile this money in and it don't work? So I would like to see, we've got scores coming back pretty soon. I'd like to see those and see, hey, how we're advancing on those. And I would like to see some things like that. But for full disclosure, I'm a no vote, just so you'll know. I mean, I've told the people that have called me on the phone that on the increase, I'm a no vote. So now I'll ask the people in the audience a show of hands.
Did you just say in that you don't think they will change anything between now and the vote?
I'm a no vote on a tax increase.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right.
Not on just a $34 million one, but I'm a no vote on a tax
On any
increase.
tax increase.
Any tax
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying that.
increase. Yes.
Where does the county, you think the county commission, where do they stand on this? Oh,
I cannot speak to that.
I didn't think you could, I was just wondering.
Because I wouldn't want to estimate on what the other guys are going to do.
That's fair.
Well, there's been three that's already said that was, it was a.
I think Margaret made this statement, and it's public knowledge. Margaret made this statement. There's 3 people that were in the paper today. Of course, you can't take that to the bank, but there's 3 people quoted in the paper today that said they are no votes.
That's more what I was wondering, if anybody had come out and said.
Yeah.
And how many people are on the?
9.
How many people are voting? 9.
And let me tell you a good point about that. There's 3 people. They quoted 3 people. Well, these people said no. I had a lady call me and she said, hey, I called you and you said you were a no vote. Your name went in the paper. And I said, you know why? And she said, yeah. I said, that lady never called. I don't know how she found that out, but that reporter didn't call me. Nobody's asked me. I said, you did, but nobody else asked me. So I wasn't going to call her and say, hey, just to let you know, if you're going to write a story, I'm a no vote. I didn't do that. So.
Well, now, there was 3 names listed of the commissioners that are for this budget.
Yes.
So there's 3 that said they were no, and there was also 3 that said yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. But that's in the paper, and that's not.
Right. Here's my feeling. Let me just give you a general feeling. It could be kind of close, maybe. Just a general feeling.
5, 4, 6.
It could be close. She just said it. They
We
need
just need 5
I
on
say
one side. 5 on one side. Yeah.
5 votes passes a budget. So that's the way that is. If anybody, I'm going to leave this paper up here if anybody wants to see how much, and I passed it a second ago without saying it because we brushed right over it without saying how great somebody mentioned, I think they have a food bank in Saudi. We have a fantastic, and this is a board member I think right here, we have a fantastic food bank in Saudi Daisy. If you ever were up there on the Thursday, I think it is.
Monday and Thursday.
Monday and Thursday, if you've ever been up there, when that is in operation, I mean, and it is an operation at the Methodist Church up there, how it comes through, it's amazing. We have an amazing food bank up there, and these guys do a fantastic job. It's unbelievable. So, one other fact I haven't given, let me give it real quick. In the last 10 years, the county has spent on schools capital money, so that's a fancy way of saying most of it is building schools and stuff. The last 10 years, we've spent $283 million really lacking just few thousand being 284 million. Now guess what, guys? That's capital money that we bonded and spent. That ain't in that money I said a second ago where we handed over
At one
money.
time, we used to build schools with our fund balance. We were doing that years ago, we all started doing bonds for our schools. But for years, we used to build schools out of our fund balance. So you're right, that is an additional to the money we get.
That's in addition. So when, there again, that's kind of skewed, and the mayor likes to say this. He says, hey, we're giving 61% of our budget to the schools. We're spending more than 61% because we're building those schools and stuff. That ain't money we give to the school board and say, now build you a school. We bond that money and then we pay the interest on those bonds and stuff. So we
You're
don't turn
saying
that
none of
money over.
that 61% of the county budget is actually towards building a school?
No,
It's all others?
operational.
Okay, all right.
Yes, no, the county bonds the money and spends the money and pays the debt service on the bonds to build schools. So that money does not go to the school board to do.
All right.
Okay, let's vote.
Don't do that. Oh, let's vote.
Okay, wait.
Okay, all in favor of a tax increase? I know you got to at least have two. And don't be ashamed. Here's the thing. That's not to
Full disclosure, he works for the school.
do what? Yeah. So he's forced to. He might have been reprimanded if he didn't.
If he still gets to vote?
Lived in this
He lives in
district
this district.
lived in this district for over 25 years.
Yeah, so he still
And
gets to vote.
feel like we need to chip in and get
That's
things.
it.
He's hiring all these people, he's HR.
Hey, and I'll tell you this, I will tell you this, and he's not here tonight, but we were at lunch together yesterday with the high school principal and our ADs here, and my principal at Daisy. And he looked me straight in the face and he said, if this budget passes, I get an assistant principal. He told me that. And so, he needs that help, he said.
Just
So,
Steve is tightened up. He
Do-
wanted to-
Daisy.
I told her, I said, not Steve, Daisy on him.
Daisy Elementary. No.
So wait a minute. So do we all get to actually, you know the number of the other, but we want to raise our hand too.
Who is the no vote for the tax increase? Okay.
All right,
That tickles me.
thank you.
For full disclosure, my wife raised her hand and she's a no vote. Here's this if you want. Listen, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Make sure to call me if you've got any extra opinions or questions. Rhonda, thanks. Thanks. Hence,